there was always a right choice and a good guy, a good side on the Team Cap versus Iron Man Civil War movie, and it was always Cap. That's why it's Captain America's movie. That's why it's not an Avengers movie. That's why it's not an Iron Man movie. It's because Stan Lee, Marvel, everybody, it was always designed that Cap was a good guy, and it was for a reason. That's why Steve has always been able to lift the hammer, and Tony has not. And a lot of the arguments, the main arguments for Iron Man, are really just emotional, very, very emotional arguments. And the biggest one is that Bucky killed his parents. Bucky killed his parents. It doesn't matter. Nothing else needs to be justified. Bucky killed his parents. So Bucky is a robot. Bucky is essentially a robot. And somebody made that robot. Somebody designed that robot. Somebody evil gave it its intentions to kill your parents. It's just a robot. It's a blank slate. It's just a robot. You're going to be more upset and angry, and that's your whole justification, is because directly you're just mad directly at a robot, an assassin designed to kill, but not towards the bigger evil, the man that designed it, the man that gave it its intentions. That is the biggest argument for Team Iron Man people, and even Iron Man knew eventually. That's why at the end of the movie you see him reflecting over the letter Steve wrote him. That's why he never turned in Steve. That's why he never hunted after Bucky. I'm pretty sure, it's the top of my knowledge, he never hunted after Bucky after that. And that is ultimately the biggest argument. The next ones are Steve never told Tony. Steve never told Tony that it was Bucky, or Steve never told Tony in general his parents were killed. So you can break that up into two things. One, the Bucky part. Steve didn't tell him it was Bucky. Steve didn't know it was Bucky. He learned in Winter Soldier a Hydra agent had him killed, but he never knew it was Bucky. And the following sentence to clarify that, when Iron Man was like, "Don't BS me," Steve said yes, but he was saying that just not to minimize his pain. He wasn't trying to create a loophole. He was saying yes, he knew Hydra had an agent get his parents killed. And the latter part to that is, yes, did Steve then tell him in general that Hydra had his parents killed? Well, Steve was genuinely just trying to protect Tony's feelings and heart. That he explained it in the letter. It wasn't to be selfish. It wasn't to protect Bucky and protect him from having him killed. No, it was genuinely because he didn't want Tony, to go through that pain. And the fact that it's taken so much of a control over his life, and genuinely from the bottom of his heart, he really just didn't want Tony to go through some more emotional turmoil. And that's why it was always Cap's movie.